Hi everyone. So we're recording this video. This is our first Coffee with Chung this school year. All right, and I have listed some items I want to talk about. Um, we only have one parent right now, but it's okay. I just recorded the video, and so whoever would like to hear more about these topics, we can always watch the video.
Okay.
And then, as always, we're gonna have some time at the end of the day. So if you have questions or anything, feel free to ask. So the first one I want to talk about is first grade hiring. This situation with the first grade teacher. I want to give everyone an update on that. Um, so we are I guess it's just not we don't have a very good luck with this position at this time, because and the timeline goes like this. Miss Marcus resigned 2 weeks before school starts, and to family promotion, and we're really happy for her. So, and there's no way I could stop that. So hey, best wishes, Miss Marcus, and they relocate to Michigan. I want to say. And then within a day or two, we found a list of candidates, qualified candidates with experience, and Ms. Diosdado was the candidate that we chose within 2 days. And that, I understand, 2 weeks before school starts. So that's, that takes a lot of work. We're
Right.
very thankful that we have partnership with HR staff and say, hey, thank you for these contacts. So we immediately reach out to a group of candidates. We set up we interview and made a decision, an offer to Ms. Diosdado. And she said, okay, yes, I love this opportunity. I would like to, she said she will accept this opportunity, and she did. As a matter of fact, she go through the pre-hiring process. She filled out the paperwork. She did background checking. I think she even did onboarding. And all of that process, we know the hiring process take about 2-3 weeks. So and that was when school first started, and we say, hey, Miss Diosdado, I know you couldn't, be there the first week. Can you still at least make it the second week, hopefully? And then she's like, yes, Mr. Ying, let me work out some relocation, logistics, because she's relocating from California to Houston.
Okay.
And I know there was a house hunting, all of that involved. So we know she's serious. She's not like, oh, okay, on the sideline or anything like that. So she was serious. But second week of school, we say, hey, Miss Diosdado, we see that you finished all your steps. You finish, you're clear. But the very last step is you have to sign the contract. And then she hesitated, and she never complete that step. And she said, Mr. Ying, we couldn't, I couldn't make it in time, or so I respect your decision if you decide to, not hire me. Basically saying that she's not going to, accept the job. And that was the second week of school. So we are put into this situation that we have no control. What we can do is something we do have control, is we can actively seek candidates, and we can seek out and interview, and that's what we did. We respond very, very quickly. We don't just sit on an item or matter for days on end and not taking action. That's not us. We took action right away. So today we have an interview scheduled for midday, and then tomorrow we also have another interview and also a demo lesson. Because we don't want to rush into any hiring decision. I mean, if this is anything else, like if we were purchasing some material, that's relatively a small decision, but a staffing decision, a hiring decision, it will impact a lot more students for many years on end. So we want to be very, very, careful with this. So this interview on Thursday, she is fully vaccinated, and we are going to accompany her the entire time, and we're gonna remind her the first thing that she comes into the building. We're gonna remind her all of our policy, COVID related, and just make sure that our students are also very safe. So that is going to happen today and Thursday, and hopefully we find one of them to be a fit, and then we're gonna expedite this hiring process. So that's what I want to talk about for first grade. In the meantime, we do have a sub teacher. And see, this is also, we're rather fortunate to have Miss Patty Wood in there for as a long-term sub. We have her until the entire month of September. She was a teacher, HISD teacher, very, very good teacher. She worked at Maryland Middle School before she retired. Last year, the end of last year, she was here for a month or so as our ELA tutor. And so she worked with Ms. Russo very well. They have very good working, partnership. And Ms. Wood is a really great ELA teacher because that's what she taught in Maryland. So I feel our students are in good hands for now until we find the permanent teacher position. All right, the next one I want to talk about is electives. I know that I have received quite a few parents wanting to change classes. They say, Mr. Ying, my child is taking this class, but when you send out the survey, this is not our option. We choose something else. And I have mentioned this, and I'm happy to talk about this again. Is that I said it in my survey that this is not a guarantee. We have to understand that our courses are available only depending on our staffing. If we don't have the teacher, we couldn't offer the class. It's really that simple. And for that matter, some of the classes are required certification, and such as the fundamental of computer science. I'm very, very excited about that course. Number one, it's earning additional high school credit for our student. Number two, it is, aside from Mandarin language, coding, computer literacy is another skill that's very essential to our children's success in the future. By the time they get into workforce, they need to have that skill. They need to have Mandarin skills to communicate with Chinese, and also they need the computer skill to communicate with computer, because trust me, there will be a lot of jobs require communication with machines and computer by them. So that's why I'm spending a lot of time and energy building that course. And originally, Mr. Gonzalez was also in my plan that he will take 2 additional classes of computer. So that's one example, is that yes, a lot of students previously choose computer. For that matter, we also extend this class to, I think, 7th and 6th grade. But right now, because, and I'm, happy for Mr. Gonzalez being promoted to TH Rogers, but because of that, we're one computer teacher short. Once again, this class has to be taught by a certified teacher. There are other classes, such as critical thinking. That is a math-related, elective course that does not require a certified teacher. I mean, yes, Ms. Murali, to be clear, Ms. Murali is certified math teacher teaching 8th grade, 7th grade math, I think even algebra. But for that particular elective, that was one example you don't require a certified teacher. But the important thing to know is that I'm having to look at, okay, the list of students and the available staff and say, okay, whereas I want to offer this many courses, but with the staffing change, I'm no longer able to offer some of the courses. So that's why some of the students are placed in the elective that's not even maybe your high choice or choice at all, in which case I apologize. So I did say that. That being said, we are, this is the 3rd week of school, so we finally have some time to look at the class roster, because the first couple weeks, especially COVID kind of throw everything into another different, layer of complexity, because some of the students didn't show up, not because they're no longer coming to MIMS, but because maybe they, have COVID symptoms, they need to, take temporary online option, and or they have underlying health reasons that they are taking a virtual academy altogether for the first semester. For different reasons, we couldn't get a very clear picture of, how many face-to-face students we have in the building until the end of, first week and also second week. So basically, I'm saying that right now I'm looking at the elective roster, and we do have a few classes that are quite large, and some classes that are not as big. So I think, if it's fair to the teachers to kind of readjust some of the numbers so that it's a more manageable, roster. So that's this year, and the roster adjustment is gonna be, in the next few days, maybe a week or two. I'm definitely taking action on that. But I think what's even more important is moving forward. We already have a really good plan, learning from this past year, and we're always learning, right? Everything we do, every plan that we make, we're always making tweak to make it better, make it more efficient, or, and see if we're hitting our goal. So next year, I already talked to my admin, and then we're gonna share this idea with the teacher, is that we are going to have some kind of like a job fair kind of deal, like a elective course fair in the cafeteria, where we'll spend a few hours in the afternoon, right? And then we're gonna do this a grade level at a time, by grade level. Sixth grade, and second grade has a window, eighth grade have a window. Actually, no, fifth grade, because the fifth graders, they are going to sixth grade, right? So, and then we'll have the elective teachers. They'll set up a booth. They'll sit at a table, and they're gonna talk about, hey, this is what my class is about. And maybe even before that fair, we will send out like a flyers, to talk about, hey, these are the list of courses, just like I did before. Like, these are the course, list and their brief description. And then and then so that the students and parents can read all about it. And then come the fair day, the day of elective, the teachers will sit at the table and then, further explain and provide detail to the students who are interested. And then the students can sign up with them right there. Let's say Mr. Ying is teaching advanced Mandarin. I'd be like, okay, Johnny, you're interested. This is what my course is about. You're interested in sign up. Okay, I put your name down. And then obviously the students can only sign up, certain number of courses. So once you already sign up, you can sign up more than a few more, right? And then, so at the same time, the teacher has a list of names. I know I can, put 22 students. I know my class, I can put 25 students in my, class. So once I fill out the list, okay, I'm done. So Timmy comes along and say, hey, Mr. Ying, I want to take your advanced Chinese. I'd be like, I'm sorry, Timmy, this is first come, first serve, right? So, okay, Timmy, I will put you on waiting list, but I cannot guarantee you a spot. So that it serves multiple purposes. Number one, the students will know their next year elective right away. And this is assuming, once again, if we don't have, staffing changes. If we do, I mean, it will be part of our hiring strategy and go, hey, we have a full class of, Mandarin. So when we have an opening, naturally we go for the Mandarin speaking or certified teacher first. Hey, we have a lot of interest in theater, for example. And then if we have movement with Ms. McGahey, for example, then we'll be like, okay, we need to fill someone with theater degree or certification to fulfill this elective. So I think this will be even more transparent, more clear process to choose elective moving forward. So I'm looking forward to the next year as far as the electives selection goes. My next item I want to talk about is volunteers. I want to, I guess, share this with the parents again, and I'm gonna use different platform to talk about this because I think I sent this in the parent email, and then I'm gonna continue to talk about this in Coffee with Chung, and then I'm gonna send follow-up emails with that. Is that we are going to need more parent volunteer. Um, I can see some of the needs, and not necessarily in the building. I do see that for morning arrival and afternoon dismissal, before we can recruit, say, crossing guard or traffic, HISD traffic cop, we could maybe, have our community if we have the, enough volunteer to step up and help. Because the admins and we have identified a few key spots that if we can staff those spots, we can effectively even, make our arrival or dismissal shorter, or we can alleviate, even more traffic. I'm really thankful of Mr. Silvera out there directing traffic. Having him stop the traffic, allowing all of the parents leave at the same time. You can see we can move a large number of parent cars very quickly. So with that, if we have more people at the drop-off lane, we're opening up doors, we're teaching, because we still have some parents leaving, exit their car and help their children. And I said to those parents, you can do that, but please park your vehicle in the parking lot. Don't exit. If you're in the driveway, don't exit. You have to park in the parking lot. And for that matter, if you're at the parking zone, don't drop off your car. Don't drop off your kid in the middle of the driveway. You park your vehicle and then drop off your kid. Um, because we have to be mindful and not delay people behind us. Yes, we're important. Your children are the most important thing in the world, but at the same time, we need to, be mindful. Are we blocking traffic behind us? So, takes a community to, work together to make our process even better. But back to volunteer. We need more volunteer allowing students to exit their vehicle quicker because some of the little ones, they're still carrying, a big backpack. So like at times we need to open their trunk, for example, take out the backpack, and then put it on their back. But all of that, mom and dad may not feel, that, okay, my child is only pre-K, so I really hope that's, an adult can help them. So we want to, give our parents a peace of mind that yes, once your child, is off your vehicle, we have an adult, taking care of them. So that's number one. Number two, there are two corners, McCloud and West Alabama. That's one corner. And then Yorktown and West Alabama, that's another corner. We feel if we have crossing guard there, then we could have more walkers. Parents can drop off students, in the neighborhood streets, and then the crossing guard will allow students to cross safely into our perimeter, school perimeter, into the campus. So, and this is for the morning and afternoon. HISD is conducting a study. HISD is conducting a traffic study and assessing whether or not we have enough traffic to call for these two crossing guard. But in the meantime, if we have parent helpers, then hey, we can start this even earlier. Because I want to send more middle school walker or high grade, fifth grade, they can start considering fourth grade and fifth grade, they can start considering walking to Yorktown because Yorktown is not very, the traffic is not very heavy right there. So if parents can, hey, child, I'll pick you up at Yorktown, and then that will even take away a lot of, car rider, right? So I think every little bit would help smooth our morning arrival or afternoon dismissal. So for those parents who have the time to volunteer, please email me directly with the subject line. Because if you don't use the subject line, I can't sort your email. I'm getting hundreds, and I'm not even exaggerating. I literally get hundreds of emails each day. So I sort them based on your subject. Parent volunteer, or as long as you have the keyword volunteer, I can sort you in the mail, in the inbox, so I can reach out to you guys. So do me a favor, if you can volunteer, email volunteer, and then we will communicate with you. The next item is a House Bill 4545. This is an intervention-related policy. I'm going to go into detail. So HB 4545, basically, I think if some parents, excuse me, some parents may have already received this communication. Not everyone. Number one, this is going to be third grade and up. STAR tested grades, third grade and up. Number two, this is going to be communication to parents, to students who did not take STAR last year. Okay, last year's STAR was optional. Okay, if you're virtual the entire year, you can choose to opt out of STAR, no problem, and it's fine. And but for those students, we still need some kind of indicator as to whether or not you have mastered your grade level math, you have mastered your grade level reading. So for those students, we are going to give them a BOY beginning of the year test very soon. I don't remember the dates by heart, but Ms. Shah is going to have that communication and say, hey, mom and dad, we see that Johnny did not take STAR last year. We just want to inform you that there is a test for Johnny. It's like a STAR-like test on all STAR testing subjects. So if you're fifth grade, that would be reading, math, and science. If you're sixth grade, that's just reading and math. If you're seventh grade, it's reading, math, writing, so on and so forth. So basically, Johnny is going to take this test, and then we're going to say, okay, Johnny, you did not pass reading. Okay, in the BOY test, you did not pass reading. Okay, so that's one example. And then Johnny, we will set aside some intervention time for Johnny to catch up his reading. For the students who did take STAR last year, but did not pass. Okay, so Timmy, I was Timmy, and last year, I was fifth grade, and I didn't pass my science test in fifth grade. So for Timmy, we also have their names, and then we are going to provide intervention for Timmy because he did not pass STAR last year. Essentially, at the core of it, that's what House Bill 4545 is for students who did not meet testing their grade level standard, STAR standard, they are going to receive intervention, a small group focused intervention to bring them up to to their grade level. And then there's a certain hours of a requirement. There's a certain requirement for the intervention teachers and whatnot. But the school, the admin, we will worry about the logistics. The parents, I guess, y'all can help us by doing this. If your child did not take STAR last year, maybe ask the teachers, hey, mom and dad, I know that this BOY is coming up. Can I have some kind of material to kind of refresh the memory? Understand this is going to be for the subject area that your child did not take. So if you show up for reading but not math, you just worry about math. However, if you fail the reading test in STAR, you may also want to review some reading material. Oh, pause. If your child fails STAR, they don't have to take the test again. So automatically they will receive the intervention. Well, I guess what I'm saying is you can help your child prepare for this BOY test, because they need to kind of refresh their memory for the test. I think it's always a good practice. So that's what that's what I was going to say. All right, and then my last item is a quick update on the SDMC meeting. It happened yesterday. So our first SDMC was yesterday. We moved the dates forward a little bit because I think originally we scheduled SDMC at a later date. I think it was middle of the September, but we moved it up because we need to get our SIP, School Improvement Plan, reviewed and approved by the SDMC so that we can submit for the district to review. So yesterday, the school improvement plan was a large item. Basically, every year the school creates a school improvement plan, cover the following area. We set academic goals. We set school progress, career readiness goals. We look at our school attendance. We look at our violence prevention goals, such as like we review how many in-school suspension, how many out-of-school suspension, those the behavior situation, how many we have the previous year, and let's see how we can go about, minimizing, reducing those behavior offenses. So those are some of the goals that we set in the SIP every year. And what we talk about is that whereas HISD goal is looking at the to increase the number of students at a mid-grade level standard. Yesterday we decide, well, our student, we generally perform better above grade level, so we're gonna look at, in addition to those mid-grade level standard, we're gonna look at our master grade level, and then so. And at the same time, we have to know that when we set a goal, it needs to be practical, obtainable, and realistic. So we say last year, yes, some of the testing, some of the STAR result, we did even better than COVID year. Very few of them, not all of them, right? And then, but at the same time, we have to know that, hey, some students opt out of STAR test. So the passing percentage is not a full representation of all the entire student body. So we kind of have to weigh in, the pros, I guess our data, and decide that I think we decide that we're gonna are we maintaining? I think we may. Sorry, this is recorded, so I think we're gonna compare with the pre-COVID result, but I don't know. I think we're gonna maintain the pre-COVID result. We didn't add, for example, if we have 90% passing, we're not gonna shoot for 92 or 95 because that wouldn't be practical, because we have to understand that some students stay virtual the entire year, and then there may be some learning losses that's not seen at this time. So we're gonna make it a practical goal that we're gonna maintain the pre-COVID standard. I think that was our academic goal. And then for career readiness, we're saying that we're gonna increase the number of students who are able to receive high school credits in the form of elective. So such as if we can expand the fundamental of computer science as an elective, we will. Because currently we have maxed out the Mandarin high school credits, right? The students can earn up to 4 Chinese 1, 2, 3, 4 credit. So we can't go even further than that. So we can only, I guess, add high school credit in other, courses. And then for attendance, last year we have really high attendance, 98.3, percent throughout the year. But at the same time, it was easier to be, present virtually, because not only, you just need to show up your face in front of a camera, or you complete your assignment within that day and then submit. So I guess it's not as difficult to meet that attendance last year. So we want to be realistic about this year where everyone is face to face. We say our pre-COVID attendance was 97.4. So we cannot maintain that, because 97.4 is already a high attendance, rate. So we say, okay, if we can maintain it, and also there's a clause we're gonna put in there, because it's tricky. If we count for the students who have COVID, who are absent because of COVID, we already know we're probably not gonna hit 97, because just last week our attendance was 91. you know, and but that's because, you know, we contact trace, we contact tracing, and, you know, every time we contact trace, every time we have a positive, you know, positive case, there will be a small group of students, they have to, you know, stay home. So that is going to affect our attendance, you know, as a result. But we say, hey, if we can, when we run report, if there's a way that we cannot count COVID-related absences, we are confident that we can, that 97.4 is a realistic goal. So that's what we put in for our goal. As for violent prevention, there is not a lot of, you know, there's no OSS last year. I think there might be one or two in-school suspension. So we feel that we should aim for, once again, pre-COVID time. And then in addition, we are receiving some help from HISD, such as we have a full-time wraparound specialist this year. The district is in discussion about sending our school, MIMS, a full-time counselor. That's in discussion, utilizing the ESSER fund. I don't know the specific timeline as to when I will see that budget or when I can start interviewing, but rest assured, I'm gonna communicate that with parents once I have the budget. So that is to address our violence prevention area. Also, there's a good news that I'm very excited to share with the parents is that yesterday in SDMC, we also made a very good, very important decision about teacher visa. Teacher visa has been, you know, a hot topic recently because we have 2 teachers now not reporting to duty because their teacher visa, they cannot work, you know, at this moment until their visa status is, you know, updated or approved by immigration. Now, the changes we're making, it takes a few minutes to explain, but I'm gonna have to make this quick because I need to go to the next meeting. But basically, for H1, you have a 6-year allowance. I mean, the first H1 is 3-year, and then you can, you know, apply for a renewal. That's 3 additional years. But altogether, anyone has a 6-year allowance to you know, for H1. The permanent residency takes about 2 years to process. Meaning, if a teacher, you know, is on H1 visa, work as a H1 visa, under H1 visa for 4 years, and then in year 4, I say, let's say I'm the teacher applicant. I'm like, hey, I would like to stay in the U.S. I guess I'm gonna, you know, apply for permanent residency, but I'm in my year 4. That I may not have enough time left in my H1 to finish the, you know, permanent residency process. Meaning, if by the time I used up my H1 by year 6, end of year 6, my permanent residency is still not approved, then I cannot work. Like all of a sudden, I'm out of job. That we're gonna eliminate that situation by saying that, right, starting this year, we're gonna review all of our teacher and consider apply their permanent residency starting as early as year 2, maybe year 3, depending, because as an admin, as an employer, we have to make sure that our teachers are, you know, highly effective teacher before we make that commitment. Because, you know, if someone is not doing a great job teaching, then I'm not sure, you know, this will be a, you know, good partnership. Whereas if our teacher is high performing, we can see that on their evaluation record. Year 2 will be like, hey, Mr. Ying, you know, you're doing great. Parents love you. Your students are doing really well. Would you consider, you know, would you like to, you know, apply for permanent residency? Mr. Ying go, yes, absolutely. That would be, you know, fantastic. Then instead of waiting until year 4 or 5, we're gonna start early. So basically, it's very simple, but and logical that we're gonna make this like a school-wide policy that this point forward, all of our Mandarin or whichever teacher that needing visa, needing to, you know, file for permanent residency application, we're gonna start looking really early, as opposed to wait until their H1 may run out. So I think this way will really promote our teacher retention, and I think it will be a good positive change moving forward. Okay, so I'm sorry, I kind of went over a little bit more time. Let me save like 3 minutes. I know Ms. Chung and Mimi, so if you have question, let's spend a couple minutes so I can answer that, and then I have to jump into my next meeting.
I do have some questions. Thanks again for having this. There were quite a few questions actually I had, but starting from the back and working your way forward. Then you said so. So do you know right now which teachers are at the Chinese teachers are at the 2-year mark? Do you have an idea of what kind of criteria you're planning on using in order to know whether or not you want to start the process with them or not?
No, we just like I guess approved that with the committee. So we haven't gone into the details yet, but I am sure that we're gonna look at their appraisal records. Their appraisal records is the main thing, and then their H1 status, whether or not they have enough, you know, yeah, their H1 timeline, I guess. But we're gonna collect those information internally, because some of those, a lot of these information is confidential. So, but it's just like the admin will collect this information and make decision based on that.
Okay. Then also, I had other questions as we went along. I'm sorry, I'm going back. One of the ones is just for the morning drop-off vehicle stuff. I think you listed some really good ideas. I think it would help to talk with maybe whoever's in charge of that, talk with some of the parents who are actually doing those particular things, morning drop-off or afternoon pickup, and what has been working. One of the things is that I know you have mentioned prior that you can't put cones out where Mr. S is like standing and saying, keep going. Because I think that I've seen you out there, you've done a really good job, and Mr. S out there, and it really helps the flow. But I believe that you can put a few cones, not to block 2 lanes of traffic, but to separate the incoming from the outgoing on that one street. In the past, they've done that before. I know it has been done when I drive past St. George Place. They have their cones out, so I know it's definitely allowed. I know you were another person that perhaps it wasn't allowed, but I've seen it with many of the community areas too. So maybe you want to double check that, but I think that would help reduce that one person out there. I've seen you sweating out there, like, come on. But I think that would maybe help if you don't have that manpower for that one particular position, if you put out some cones over in that section. I do think the morning drop off versus the afternoon drop off have different needs in terms of how to affect the flow. So, you mentioned a crossing guard at Yorktown, but you don't need one in the morning. You would need one maybe in the afternoon, but even then they don't tend to cross that street. So if there was a priority of one section versus the other, it would probably be maybe on the other side of the street where people are parking on both sides. But I think there are a lot of details, and it would really help you to coordinate that. And instead of asking for parent volunteers in the morning, I really think it would be very, very helpful to have a committee of young people, something, the middle schoolers that are there early in the morning waiting outside the door regardless. They should be the ones doing the crossing, like the opening the door stuff. They should have their vests, the safety vest. Other schools do it. I don't think it necessarily needs to be parents. But you do need someone to kind of coordinate those efforts. But there are a lot of different things that you can do, I think, to make that a little easier. I think one thing definitely would be you really need to start that email a little earlier before the start of school to reduce that horrible first week, which everyone has. But you really need to probably during the orientation, because I know you had orientation, Miss Doris was so great to put together that graphic, those kinds of things really need to be pressed upon to the parents prior to the start of school, ideally, of course. And then, you mentioned some things in like meetings about, oh, you got to you got to go around the block. But I don't think that it's really well known. I don't think it's published or really distributed anywhere where you have to go around the block. I think people are still trying to cut in from Wistheimer during the afternoon. And like if you know that that is your plan, I think if you could communicate it a lot more clearly, that would help, because there is still much confusion over, you know, which way the traffic goes. But I think you're working on it now. I see you're definitely working on it now. Maybe for next year, it really should be completely finished and done, saved on a file, so you could do it later.
In one school that I worked previously, I record a video of do's and don'ts, like arrive, but that was when I had the time. So I guess if parent, because I don't, in our staff, like we don't have anyone to like do that video editing or do a tutorial. I'd be happy to maybe just, you know, like do it again on in a video, like just kind of do that what I did in open house. But are you thinking about kind of like a short YouTube video to show people, like parents, like the do's and don'ts, like, hey, this is how you park, hey, this is how you turn, this is how you stay. Is that what you're, you know, having in mind?
That's fine. That would be fine. What I'm just saying is, now that you're working on it, you know, I don't want to have every year that you have to do extra work to reinvent this wheel that has already been invented. I think if you do it once and you do it well, you could probably use it again next year, but before the start of the year.
You're absolutely right, and I think next year is gonna be better because number one, coming back from COVID, virtual, like, you know, a lot of parents think we kind of just, okay, we need kind of reestablish that. Number two, next year, now that everyone is doing the same dismissal arrival, like I know our parents already know, so we just next year we just need to focus on our new students. So when we do new student orientation, pre-K orientation, for example, we're gonna, you know, just like drill them, the parents on those process, so we can focus our communication even better.
Right. The other question I have is, you mentioned about the House Bill 4545, and that you have to have certified teachers to do it. And I was just kind of curious, which teachers and what periods are you planning to pull the children out? And will that affect the rest of the students that don't fall under the 4545?
No. So to answer your question, that's another, I'm sorry, I'm tuning my own horn here, but that's another beauty of our current schedule is that for middle school, we can pull those students from their electives. This is already built in. When I create that schedule, intervention is already built in, embedded in our elective. Whereas if Johnny is taking theater right now, but Johnny fails, you know, start reading, I'll pull Johnny during that elective time to get reading intervention. And for that matter, Timmy with math, okay, instead of going to, you know, R, hey, Timmy, come on, you have to come here to receive math intervention during your elective time. And for, sorry, go ahead.
So my question then is, I really like that you have a time period where the students can go, but I'm assuming that the teacher teaching the elective must also, you know, you will need a math teacher to teach it or to intervene. You're not using our teachers that are currently in elective class?
We are not pulling the current elective teacher. No, if the teacher is teaching R, she's teaching R. If the teacher is teaching computer, he'll be teaching computer. He's not like doing computer, and intervention. No, I already have in the schedule, there are a few teachers right now. They don't have students during their elective for that specific purpose. Mr. Ying is teaching a elective, but Mr. Ying doesn't have student load right now because I'm anticipating Mr. Ying is going to pull some students needing intervention. But that's not the case for every teacher though. And also for elementary, we're going to provide intervention in different forms. Like there are two study hall built in the enrichment rotation. Those two study hall will be one way that students will receive intervention, and then also the intervention is embedded in the reading and math block. So for those students, they may be pulled out from, during that intervention time from their class to receive intervention. As far as staffing, we just have to, find the teacher who are available. But that's something I'm gonna work on.
Okay. When does this start? The pullout?
After we have those student roster, after the test, after the BOY test.
Okay. And the BOY is soon, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a timeline for when those students need to, like, is there, I guess you will coordinate which students have what kind of intervention, and I'm sure there's some sort of standard for that, probably, is my guess. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I was just wondering because I was wondering, I know MIMS is limited because we are such a small school with a small number of teachers who are already doing quite a lot. So I was just trying to figure out how that would affect, the students who have a teacher or which teachers are going. I wasn't sure if it was other staff or.
There has been talk about assigning interventionist to school, but I don't know if that will be a full-time or part-time share with another school, or in what form. But I know that the district is looking into providing that interventionist to help with this cause.
Oh, okay. That's great. So you think the district will provide those people for the third grade and up who are intervening?
But once again, it's not, we're not solely relying on the district, and we already have teachers available to do intervention. But so this is like, in addition to our current staff, we may receive more interventionist help. But once again, I don't know the number of hours, for example, if this is a full-time 40-hour deal or this is a part-time split between, how many schools and whatnot.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I know you need to go. Do you need to leave? It's 46.
I know. Yes, I'm gonna have to apologize to that parent. I'm happy to have more conversation about Q&A. I'm happy to schedule another meeting, just you and I, and then we can record that, and then so that and share with parent. If you have a list of questions that from parents, I'm happy to communicate.
Okay. I appreciate you taking the time for the coffee. I think it's really nice. Maybe it's short. It's a short time. 30 minutes is short with question and answer. I know you had a lot of things to get through, but I appreciate your time.
Actually, I'm thinking next time, give me a heads up and say, hey, Mr. Ng, I have a long list of questions. Can we spend more time on Q&A? I'd be happy to, and then I can compress my updates and whatnot so that we can balance this out.
Oh, sure. It was based on what you just talked about, so I didn't know the agenda of the meeting until you started talking.
Oh, okay.
They just came up as you were speaking. Sorry.
Gotcha,
Next time.
gotcha. No worries.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
You
Thank
too.
you so much.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.